Anyway, thanks everyone for joining. Really good to have you here. I know it's a Friday, so I'm sure you're all really excited to get off to the weekend. But as we were saying earlier, this is going to be a really exciting event, and I think we're going to learn a lot from Naomi and her experience. Just to give you a bit of background, I actually saw Naomi on LinkedIn posting about various different topics surrounding cybersecurity awareness and people getting seen and known, and just a lot of stuff on building the community, and I was really impressed by it. So that prompted me to get in touch, and here we are. So I guess if you want to introduce yourself now, Naomi.
Hey everyone, I'm Naomi Buckwalter, and this is an Ask Me Anything. So if you go ahead and in the chat, you can ask any questions you want about LinkedIn and just how to improve your social media presence. I'm happy to answer them. So let's make this a free-flowing thing. Go ahead and type in your questions now. I know Adam has some questions prepared for me, and we can fill in the silence there, Adam, but we can just make this whatever you guys want to know about improving your social media presence. Because I will say, I got my job currently through LinkedIn. I got my previous job through LinkedIn. I got my first security leadership job through LinkedIn. So, and it's not because I was doing anything special. I think it's just the fact that I put out something that someone found interesting. And I wrote for me. I still write for me. I don't care who else sees it. It's wonderful that I have an audience that interacts with me and interacts with each other, and I love that. And so I'm forever grateful. But I do write for myself. I do not write for anyone else. I do have my end users in mind too. So if I have something I want to write about, I write to make myself feel better about a particular topic, but I do have my end readers in mind. So I do write for them, but to satisfy my own feelings. Like I need to get this off my chest. This is my therapy. So I do write for that reason. So go ahead and type any questions you have in a chat. I don't see any chats yet. Please don't be shy. I know there's 11 of you, so you're gonna just ask whatever you have. But the idea is now, like, you're here because you want to know about how to improve your LinkedIn presence and how to, oh, we have a question, to get a little bit, more interest in you, right? So everyone knows cybersecurity is all about networking, and you want to have somebody refer you to a job, and I'll tell you why. Social media is the number one easiest way to build a network. Now, if you are seen to have great knowledge on a certain topic, or you're studying on your own and you're building a home lab, you're doing certifications, awesome. Those people need to know about it, and you need to connect with them and say, how can I help you, person? Give you what you need to do. How can I improve your situation, however it is? And you start building these relationships. Those people in turn will either recommend you for jobs that they know about, because now they trust you in whatever you're saying, whatever you're doing. They believe that you're awesome at what you do because of your social media presence, because of what you've done, and things that you shared about yourself. And they now believe you enough to put their own reputation on the line and recommend you for jobs. And again, this is the easiest way. And I know, Adam, you're a recruiter, correct?
Marketing for
Marketing
recruitment, but yeah,
for
yeah,
recruitment, right? So you know
yeah.
this to be true. Like if
hmm
you put yourself out there, you will already stand out from the hundreds of other applicants who are applying for the same jobs. And again, I have done so much research on this data, but for any given entry-level job in cybersecurity, there's about 150 applicants for every single entry-level job. So if you are applying to a job that's on a job board or on Indeed, you are fighting against the same chances as 150 other people. And those odds, my friend, are not good. So what you want to do is you want someone to recommend you for jobs, and you skip over the hiring manager screens or the ATS systems, the applicant tracking systems. They screen you based off of your resume. And by the way, you're not a professional resume writer, so you're not expected to write an amazing and perfect resume. So you skip over the screens and you skipped over the ATS system who has now ranked you. and you go straight into the interview process. And again, that interview process could be from anyone. It could be the recruiter, could be the HR person, could be the hiring manager, it could be somebody else. But you go to a person. You don't go through software anymore. So you want someone to recommend you for a job, because that just gives you a leg up beyond the 150 other people who are fighting for that same chance that you are. You don't want to apply for jobs. You want someone to recommend you for a job. All right. So I'll stop there. Let's hit up some questions, Adam. I'm just going to go ahead and read, or do you want to
Sure.
do that?
Yeah, I'll read them out. So it looks like the
Yeah,
first
please.
question we got was from Lutz, and they asked, "How much time do you spend on LinkedIn to keep it up to date?"
So on my profile, I only update it when I have a job change or when I have a thing that I'm working on. It's not often. I want to say I update my profile probably every year. But when I was younger, I'm basically very old. I'm 40 this month. But in the beginning of my LinkedIn, it was very flexible. Like I really didn't know what a good profile looked like, but I ended up following the wizard that LinkedIn gives you. It's like, hey, you just put in a couple skills and put in. So I followed it and I filled it out, and I also did pay for premium. I do recommend that. For some reason, LinkedIn gives more engagement, obviously, to paying customers. So you do want to shell out the what is it, £70 per month to be able to pay. And it's a lot of money, but it might be less than that. I don't know. So yeah, that's how much time I spend on my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I would also add in there that it's important, like from the recruitment consultant side, when we see people with incomplete LinkedIn profiles, there's just less information for us to work on. The more that's filled out, the more sort of keywords you hit, the easier it is for us to find you.
Yeah.
If you work in a particular area of cyber and you've got that on your profile, you'll come up on searches.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's true.
next question
I
is,
will say though, Adam, quickly, you also want to be careful on what you're posting that could hurt you.
Mhm,
So in the LinkedIn profile, you can see everyone's activity, recent activity. You click on see all activity, and you can see all the things that they've posted, not just on their own wall, but comments to other people's posts, and you can read them and you can see if they're a jerk or not. So
mhm,
you read them, you're like, I don't want to work with this person. They were being a bully, or they were saying completely unprofessional and terrible things about somebody. And that stays on your profile. So you want to be really careful about what you're posting in the comments, because people, those comments will haunt you. Like you do not want to put unprofessional or bullying or anything else that could be seen as super, super negative. You can say something professional in like, I don't agree. You can say it that way. Like if you disagree in a professional way, that even looks even better than like agreeing into an echo chamber. So you want to be really careful. And it like boggles my mind whenever someone's like, you're a shit, sorry for my language, or, like you don't know what you're talking about. You're a
mhm.
dimwit. Don't do that. You don't want name calling, bullying. That will hurt you. And if you're wondering why recruiters are looking at your profile, but they're not coming back to you with any like interviewing requests, that's probably why, because they've gone to your LinkedIn profile. You can see who sees your profile, right? And if it's like 15 recruiters that month, and you're probably wondering why they're not contacting you, it's probably because they looked at your activity. They thought you were a little bit of a bully or unprofessional. They didn't want to work with you. They want to move forward with you, move forward with someone else. Right, Adam?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, I think that's just a general good rule on social. Whatever you put out there, someone's going to be able to see that. Potential hiring managers, friends,
Twitter as well.
colleagues.
Yeah,
Pretty much
Twitter.
just a
Be
good rule
kind.
of, yeah, good rule of life. So the next question we have here is, how do you generate content on LinkedIn that is content dense yet not forwarded?
Yeah, so you want to create original content. So this is what I do. I write a lot of text. If you take a look, and if I don't know if how many of you guys follow me, but I try to post a day every day using text. And the algorithm for LinkedIn just happens to like text more than pictures or links or forwarding someone else's post. You can tell your engagement will go up if you just write text with maybe one or two hashtags. You don't want to go overboard with the hashtags. So I use a hashtag cybersecurity. Sometimes I use linked infosec because I think it's funny. And sometimes I'll use humanity first because I'm all about improving the lives of other people. But you want to use one or two hashtags that a lot of people follow. That way they see it, and as long as you're using text, and it's the weirdest thing, but you will stand out amongst the field of people who put pictures or links to other things, or certifications that they've passed, you will stand out because you simply have one or two lines of black and white text that looks different than everything else on the wall. So the people's eyes will automatically gravitate towards a very interesting first opening sentence. You also want to kind of draw their eye in into, like, here's why you should read the rest of this post, because you've captured their attention within the first few sentences or the first sentence or so.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of strange when like content writing principles come into cybersecurity, but it's super important. Those first two lines. If all your interesting points are at the end, people are not even going to get to that point. If if your first two lines are just really quite bland.
Mhm.
So that's an amazing point.
It is. So do this experiment. If you are on LinkedIn right now, which you really should be if you want to get into cyber. So you're going to post every day. This is what I tell my mentees. If you can afford premium, buy it. At least try it for a month. You can have that free month. I think there's a free month trial for premium. Do that for a month. Do text only posts. Do not share links outside of LinkedIn. LinkedIn has the algorithm. If you share links outside of LinkedIn, does not like the algorithm does not like you. And you want to engage on the comments. So if people write back, and you can also tag people. This is interesting. You can tag people that you want them to respond to you. So tag them. Say, hey, at Naomi, can you respond to this? And I'm happy to. I'll respond in the comments. And then whoever is in my network, which should be able to see my comment to your post, and then your engagement should go up because you've already tagged people and asked for their engagement. So within that first hour, you should see a little bit more engagement now that you've purchased premium and that you're posting text only. And you're writing something that's like interesting enough for people to respond to. It's kind of that like magic hour. You want that first hour to have the most engagement. So don't do it too early in the morning. You really kind of want to do it around like lunchtime, your time, like just wherever your connections are. That way people have time to like review and just comment. So kind of like that was like 4 different tips at once. All right, good
Yeah,
questions.
there are so many different ways you can sort of stand out on LinkedIn, not just content wise, but the way you're posting. Naomi, have you ever tried, links in comments? That seems to be
Yes. Yeah,
popular at the moment.
I do that. So if I have something that I want people to see, I put the links in the comments, put it as the first
Hmm.
comment. It usually seems to do a little bit better. Otherwise, the LinkedIn algorithm hides your post. LinkedIn wants to keep you on its platform. So obviously, if you put a link in the post, your users click on it, your readers click on it, then they've just left LinkedIn. But LinkedIn makes its money by having its readers stay on their site. So you've got your ads and it's tracking and it's selling your data and all that stuff, but you want to stay on LinkedIn. And if you keep your readers on LinkedIn, your engagement level will go up a lot higher. Your view count should go higher. That's what I've found anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We also have a question from Fabian who said, "Is writing articles on LinkedIn better than writing comments? What is the best way to get more views?" And the example was, my first article got a nice review, but the second one not so much.
Mm.
Any advice on why that might have happened?
Yeah, so he's probably talking about LinkedIn Pulse, and something interesting happened recently. But LinkedIn Pulse used to be a great blogging platform, had lots of engagement, lots of views. But LinkedIn, for some reason, deprioritizes LinkedIn Pulse articles now. So even if you're on LinkedIn, you're writing Pulse articles, it doesn't seem to want to share that information for some reason. I still can't really figure out why. So when I first started writing blog articles, it really was on Pulse, and that's how I got my first leadership job. Is literally somebody read some of my Pulse articles and said, hey, this is exactly what we're looking for in a leader. Why don't you apply for this job? And then I jumped straight into the interview round. So that's how I got my first leadership role. And I still recommend that for people who are trying to break into leadership positions who are already in cybersecurity, because now you've got a place where you can put more of your thoughts in a more organized and formatted. You can put some pictures in there and it just looks nicer and more professional than the, 800 characters that you get or whatever it is number within the LinkedIn post itself. So you just have more room to spread your wings there. But in terms of now I forget the original. So that's the reason why Pulse is not prioritized as highly in the algorithm. So this is what I recommend. Instead of writing a long article in Pulse, which honestly maybe not the best place to put it, because you can condense all of your information into those 800 characters and put it on the LinkedIn like mini blog. So like where you put your normal post, like that's where you would put it. So if you read some of my post, it reads kind of like a little article, like a really tiny article. And so I've got like a little header or a headline, and I kind of just fill it in with my argument. And then I say, why do we do it this way? And then I, give a little bit more argument, maybe some data. And then I ask people, I'm like, why don't we do it the other way or whatever it is? And that's when the readers get to that point, they're like, hey, I either agree with you or I don't. Now it's time for me to completely disagree or agree, and I'll put it in the comments. So you kind of leave your readers with this like feeling of, I need to respond to this person because I think she's wrong or I think she's right. And so I really enjoy that when I get a lot of comments that just passionately like propose their own reasons for a particular topic. And I really like that. And that helps me stay engaged within the community. That way I'm like, oh yeah, so this topic actually resounds with other people. This is great because I'm not the only one who thinks about this. So
Yeah, for sure. Question here from King Samuel, who said, does our LinkedIn profile have to read like a CV?
no. So your CV is a very two-dimensional thing, right? So you've got just words, but your LinkedIn now is three-dimensional, and you can click into things that you've done. You can link to your GitHub. You can link to other pieces that you've written or webinars you've presented at. So LinkedIn is just a more dynamic and three-dimensional. Like, there's not a really great way of saying it, but you don't want to just have the same thing on your resume. You want to make it a click deeper. That makes it more interesting and enticing for someone like a recruiter or a hiring manager, such as myself, to go in there and see, what else has this person been involved with? Are they volunteering with certain groups? Okay, now I can see that. What is that group actually? Okay, I can click into that. Have they posted in that group recently? Okay, great, I can see that. So I can see more of your activity, how you've contributed to the community. And that's what I see. I want to see you contributing to the community, not just saying, hey, I took a certification, or I read this book, or I mean, great, but tell me what you learned in that certification process. Like, what did you find difficult? How did you pass it? What were your study tips that you want to give other people? What books did you read? And give me a review of that book. The content you create should no longer just be like what you've done, but things that you can give to other people to take action on now. That is the content that will get you further ahead than someone who just reiterates things that they've done or on their CV or anything like that. Like, you want to show that you have something to contribute.
Yeah, and again from the recruitment side, when the consultants look at the CVs, when the hiring managers, I think, look at CVs, they're trying to tick boxes. They're trying to make sure that you've got this, and so on, and they want to find that out as quickly as possible. Whereas in your LinkedIn profile, it's exactly like you said, Naomi. They want to find out how you're going to contribute, and who you are, and who you'll be like to work with.
So King Samuel has a great next question. How do you generate enough material for a daily posting? How much time do you spend on this? So this is interesting. I don't know how I come up with ideas. It's usually when I have a conversation with someone, or I just have something that I want to talk about. But again, I've been in technology for almost 20 years, and I have this like pent up rage inside me that I will have several more years of things that I want to talk about. So just the fact that I've been in tech and security for so long, and I've seen the bad things and the toxicity that goes on, and I'm ready to call it out. So it was only recently, within the past pandemic, that I started posting every day. And it literally is just from the well of like things that I've always wanted to say, and now I'm finally saying it. But I do choose a topic, like the topic I'm currently on is helping entry level people get into cybersecurity, and the reasons why we are hurting ourselves by not letting entry level people get into cybersecurity. So I just think about it. Sometimes I'm sitting there, maybe like, at night after dinner, I'm just relaxing, and I'll just think of something, be like, oh yeah, that's the reason why we do it. And then I'll just start formulating like a conversation in my head about, why do you think it's that way? So I just talk to myself a little bit. When I write content, however, I only spend about 20 minutes actually writing, but I've already had an entire prose in my head about kind of the argument I want to give, and kind of like the call to action that I want everyone to try to do. Be like, hey, I think entry level job descriptions are ridiculous. Let's get rid of the 5 years experience requirement or the CISSP requirement, like things like that, where I want this action now to take place because I've written it in a way that's compelling for somebody to be like, I agree with you, let's do it that way. And so I've already formulated the pros in my head, but by the time I'm ready to type it out, it only takes me about 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, and Well, I was actually want to get one of my questions in. We've had quite a lot. Typically, what I see is a lot of people worry about the first post. They're scared to make that first post, and even though they can come up with a bunch of different ideas for content, they're really nervous about getting that first post out there. Do you have any advice for people on that?
Yeah, the first post, I don't know, what did I, like who cares? So here's the thing, you write for yourself, and who cares if no one else sees it, honestly. You write for yourself, and it's so therapeutic. You write for yourself, and no one else sees it, as long as it's professional, you're proud of it, what you wrote. You will start seeing something interesting. People will find it. Like if you continue to write every day about anything you care about, it doesn't have to be about cybersecurity. It could be about the pandemic. It could be about the unfairness of certain situations. It could be about your experience as a person of your gender, of your race, of your ethnicity, of your nationality in a certain situation. You can absolutely talk about your experience, talk about your story, tell people about you. That is so easy to do. And if you can't talk about yourself, I can't help you, because if you can at least talk about yourself, everyone's good about talking about themselves, like, or not good about it. Everyone likes talking about themselves. No one has a problem. So start with that. If you have problems finding content, start with your own story. Be like, I've been in tech for 20 years, and here's the things I've experienced: gender inequality, racial inequality, and I've seen other people do it, and I wonder if other people have the same thing, or whatever. And throw in some data there and be like, according to Forbes, 20% of all, there's only about 20% of females in tech, or to security, there are only about 20% of us are female. And why is that? So throw in a little bit of data so people, the people who are more right-brained versus the left brain, so they'll see the data and be like, oh yeah, so this is a little bit more scientific, this is good. They like that. So there's a little bit of psychology behind it, but I'm not a scientist, or I don't really understand human psychology, so I couldn't tell you why it works. But you want to throw a little bit of the emotional side, you want to put a little bit of the data side and the brainier side. Same thing, you'll see some of that stuff in my posts. So you can also be funny. I sometimes tell jokes. Like my one joke that I thought was hilarious, and I didn't care if anyone else got it, but I really like bacon. So I put confidentiality, integrity, availability, bacon, and that was my entire post. And like that was fine. It was hilarious to me. I didn't care if anyone else got it, but I posted for myself because I thought it was hilarious, and other people thought it was funny too. So I'm like, whatever, that's cool. Yeah, just
Yeah,
post for yourself.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're not posting for yourself, it's just going to come across as not genuine,
Yeah,
and
that's a
that's one
good
that
point, Adam. Yeah.
I think
You
that's one
post
of
for
the
yourself
damaging
and you'll
things.
just know it. Yeah, just be genuine, be yourself, be professional you. Don't be like, sitting on the couch on Saturdays you, but be professional you, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then you will notice a difference in your engagements. You're going to see other people, hey, I'm the exact same way. Alexander, King Samuel, like I'm the exact same way as you. And as long as you're posting things that now reflect the experiences and the lived lives of other people, people will see that and they'll say, oh my God, this person is just like me. I will now respond, or I will like and share, just because like this is exactly what I go through too. And that those are the kind of engagements that people are dying to see, especially in a pandemic where we no longer have human to human face-to-face interaction. This is all we're getting now, folks. We're getting these Zoom calls, and all we're getting is social media. So you might as well make it as human as possible and try to connect with people with your words, because magic will happen. It's really cool.
Yeah, and kind of off the back of that, maybe I'll sort of offer everyone up a little challenge. Everyone who's attended here, if you can, we're obviously learning a lot from Naomi at the moment. Why not write a post about this? Let everyone know that you're interested in the cyber industry. You can let everyone know that you attended this event, and a little bit about what you learned, and I think that's a good way of kickstarting your posts on LinkedIn.
Yeah, why not? Like, if you guys
So
literally don't know what to post, just tell a story. Literally, stories are the best way to get people interested in reading. Like, tell me about this, Adam. You can tell me any story, and I will be super focused on just you, instead of like the three other things that I'm worried about. Like, I want to hear a story. I want to hear a great story, right? Like, who doesn't want to hear a great story? Tell an awesome story. And here's a really cool trick, if you guys are listening, but a really good way to tell stories is to try to put the reader in that situation with you. So like if you're telling a story, you want to give very like tactile ways of describing your words. Like, say I was in a meeting, 15 other people were in a hot, sweaty room standing alongside me. There were no other chairs, but the tables were so small. Like, you're giving these descriptive words now to really put that person in there with you, and they can visualize. The more they can visualize your story, the more real it will seem to them, and the more engaged they will be. They will start reading your story and be like, wow, that was a really good story. And now you can just say pretty much anything. Like, people get really engaged. And honestly, this is the way you should be doing your interviews too. Like, as a hiring manager, I do interview people who just don't know how to talk and tell stories, and they're not engaging. And I just lose them. Just so many words, too many words. But I never fully get engaged with them because they're not telling a story that's like interesting. So you want to grab their attention. You want to like use different kinds of words that evoke emotion and visualization and things that will help put the person with you while you're telling the story. It's a really cool trick.
Definitely. I think we're coming towards the end now, so we'll just get the last questions done. So Chan Chao said, how do we stay in touch with our LinkedIn contacts we have never met personally without bugging them with small talk?
So this really depends on person to person, but I do get quite a lot of random messages, and if they lead with like a whole paragraph and why I need to help them, like that really just takes too much of my time, honestly. Like, I get so many of these messages, and unfortunately I don't have the time to spend on each one. So I either give them a link to someone else's, articles, or be like, hey, just check this out, or I ignore them completely because I don't know them. So what you can start doing instead of just reaching out and asking for help, you want to just say, hey, I appreciate your post, think you're awesome, or whatever. Or, hey, I've noticed that you've been posting about this topic, just want to say that I really appreciate that. And you don't ask them for anything, because some of the people that I know just don't have time to spend on every single one of the messages. And yes, I do wish I had more time, and I used to be able to do more, with each message. But each passing day is another 50 or so random messages that are asking me for advice, and I just have to give them a link. Or, honestly, if I don't know them, I'll be like, sorry, like that, I'll give them like a happy face or something, but I can't give them too much of my time. And unfortunately, that's just it. You only have 24 hours a day, and I can only really spend it on people that I've interacted with in the past. So either in my comments, or another way that they can reach out to me and be like, hey, I watched you on a networking event. Like, you folks here, the 17 folks here, I'll be happy to like back and forth messaging, because you're like, hey, I watched you, I have some extra questions. I'll be like, yeah, sure, what extra questions do you have? It's totally fine. But like, people that are just random strangers on the internet who ask me for a ton of advice, and I'm like, but I don't even know you. Like, is this a message that you've sent to 100 other people, or have you like done your own homework? Like, why are you asking me this? So I almost feel like a commodity at that point, where I'm just a answering machine, right? It's like, I am a human, please treat me as such. Like, that is the easiest way to get someone on someone's radar, is to just treat them as a human and be like, I'm not here to ask you for anything, I just want to build a relationship. Great. So you'd be like, hey, I really appreciated that you spoke at this event, I just want to connect. That's it. And I'll be like, great, connection, cool. Sometimes I won't say, yeah, thanks for attending, or whatever, but I'll be like, yeah, that's awesome. The next time you want to ask me a question, now I'll see our message history now and be like, hey, this person connected with me and they didn't ask me straight up for some advice. Cool. Maybe I can spend time with them now and just give them more advice because I have more time now. Right. I'm not inundated with just requests. I know that sounds completely egotistical, but I promise you, I only do it because otherwise I would go mental.
Great. Do you have what time for one more question, Naomi?
Let's see. I do have an 11, but yeah, I can be like 1 minute late. Go ahead.
Sure. Let's think. Got quite a few. Alexander said, which of your topics gets the most engagement?
So these are the ones that are about entry level folks. There's a lot of entry level folks, and I do have a passion for getting people into cybersecurity. So hence the reason why I'm here. I want to help more people because it helps me in turn. Like, I want to retire, right? And I won't be able to retire and relax unless people that I know and trust are now filling in the shoes of the generation that I'm in. Once we retire, the next generation needs to come in. So to me, there is no next generation. There is this problem of gatekeeping. And so I post about that quite often. And a lot of people agree, or some people disagree, but a lot of people see that and say, hey, I'm having the same struggles. And the more that we post about kind of like, why is it like this? Why is it a 5-year experience in CISSP required? That is just ridiculous. And we call out BS when we see it. And now people will say, I agree with you. I also will start posting about the same things. And I've noticed a trend actually. A lot of people are now posting about entry level jobs in cybersecurity and why they're so difficult and what my take on it is or what their take on it is. Perfect. That's what I want. I want a conversation happen. And those are the posts that are getting the most engagement because you're opening a conversation that wasn't open before. Like people want to talk about this, but they're afraid to. Like I'm totally happy to say, I don't know everything. I Google things. Why don't more people do that? Like we're human. And I think the more humanity you put into your post, the more people are going to say, I agree with you.
Exactly. So, as we said, that was the last question.
Mm,
So, thank you so much for coming here, Naomi, and talking to everyone. I think I'm sure
awesome.
everyone got a ton of value from what you said, and we will send out the recording for anyone who I know a couple of people joined a little bit late, so we'll send you the recording over.
Okay.
I've just posted a link to our LinkedIn group, the Cyber Lounge, where we'll also sort of continue this discussion. So, if you want
Awesome.
to keep talking about that, everyone, come and join us in there. But otherwise, yeah, have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you at the next event.